Welcome, friends, to our Interfaith Prayer and Discussion number 126. Today is the 18th of May 2023. We have these meetings to foster the devotional character of the society and to bring understanding among different religious friends, the common foundation of all religions, and to remove the prejudice of religious prejudice and all kinds of prejudice. We'll have the honoring the indigenous people and the land, and then we have something to say about May 18th, Tamil Genocide Day. This is from the quotation from the Universal Office of Justice, Press One Message 2023. There is widespread acknowledgement that the present-day structures of society are ill-prepared to address the needs of humanity in its current travails. Much that was widely assumed to be certain and unshakable is being questioned, and the resulting ferment is producing a longing for a unifying vision. The chorus of voices raised in support of oneness, equality, and justice shows how many share these aspirations for their societies. I share this quotation just to say that all around the world we have challenges and problems, and the current structures in the society is not adequate enough. And the indigenous people of this land, I have been living in this country for more than 60,000 years, and they were the traditional custodians of this land, and they call the Mother Earth, and they have spiritual connection. They have their own spirituality, culture, languages, and the systems. Unfortunately, they were overrun, and they are still languishing in this land. And we have, as people who are trying to build a unity and peace in the world, we have to give voice to those people who are in such situations. So we acknowledge and pay respect to the past, present, and future traditional custodians and the elders of this nation we call Australia, and the continuation of their cultural, spiritual, and educational practices of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. We acknowledge Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander tribes, who are the first sovereign nations of the Australian continent. The Gadigal of the Eora Nation are the traditional custodians of this place we now call Sydney, and Wangal people are the traditional owners of Burwood, where I live. And today it so happened that May 18th is in 2009 in Sri Lanka. Between 40,000 to 100,000 people of the Tamil minority were killed in just in 1 day or 2 days. As I mentioned earlier, the problems are all over the world. There are many people who are marginalized and seeking justice and equality. So unless we realize the inherent oneness of humanity in this world and work together as one people and one the world as one homeland. There will be no well
Yes.
or well-being for anyone in this world. So with that, we'll go on to our devotional part. Please mute yourself unless you have to read. We'll have 2 musics at the beginning and 6 readings and then 2 musics at the end.
अथ षोडशोऽध्यायः श्रीभगवानुवाच अभयं सत्त्वसंशुद्धिः ज्ञानयोगव्यवस्थितिः दानं दमश्च यज्ञश्च स्वाध्यायस्तप आर्जवम् अहिंसा सत्यमक्रोधः त्यागः शान्तिरपैशुनम् दयाभूतेष्वलोलुप्त्वम् मार्दवम् ह्रीरचापलम् तेजक्षमा धृतिः शौचम् अद्रोहो नातिमानिता भवन्ति सम्पदम् दैवीम् अभिजातस्य भारत अथ षोडशोऽध्यायः श्रीभगवानुवाच अभयं सत्त्वसंशुद्धिः ज्ञानयोगव्यवस्थितिः दानं दमश्च यज्ञश्च स्वाध्यायस्तप आर्जवम् अहिंसा सत्यमक्रोधः त्यागः शान्तिरपैशुनम् दयाभूतेष्वलोलुप्त्वम् मार्दवम् ह्रीरचापलम् तेजक्षमा धृतिः शौचम् अद्रोहो नातिमानिता भवन्ति सम्पदम् दैवीम् अभिजातस्य भारत
I pray, let your anger and your fury be turned away from your city, Jerusalem, your holy mountain, because for our sins and for the iniquities of our fathers, Jerusalem and your people are a reproach to all those around us now. Therefore, our God, hear the prayer of your servant and his supplication. praise before you because of our righteous deeds, but because of your great mercies. Oh Lord, hear, oh Lord, forgive. Oh Lord, listen and act. Do not delay, for your own sake, my God, for your city. And your people are called by your name. Oh Lord, hear. Oh Lord, forgive. Oh Lord, listen and act. Oh Lord, hear. Oh Lord, forgive. Oh Lord, listen and act.
O Lord, thou possessor of infinite mercy, O Lord of forgiveness and pardon, forgive our sins, pardon our shortcomings, and cause us to turn to the kingdom of thy clemency, invoking the kingdom of might and power. Humble at thy shrine and submissive before the glory of thine evidences, O Lord God, make us as waves of the sea, as flowers of the garden, united, agreed through the bounties of thy love. O Lord, dilate the breast through the signs of thy oneness, and make all mankind as stars shining from the same height of glory, as perfect fruits growing upon thy tree of life. Verily, thou art the Almighty, the self-subsistent, the giver, the forgiving, the pardoner, the omniscient, the one creator. Baha'i Scriptures.
Of the sin against God, thou art atonement. Of the sin against mankind, thou art atonement. For sin against the fathers, thou atonest. Of the sin against oneself, thou art atonement. Of every sort of sin, thou art atonement. The sin that I have knowingly committed, and that unawares I have committed, of all that wickedness, thou art atonement. O endowed, transcendent one, I myself and others request that you cleanse wrongs and hindrances from all sentient beings and purify every weakened and broken sacred word of honor. Hinduism.
O Son of Man, the true lover yearneth for tribulation, even as doth the rebel for forgiveness, and the sinful for mercy. O Son of Man, breathe not the sin of others, so long as thou art thyself a sinner. Should thou transgress this command, accursed wouldst thou be, and to this I bear witness. O oppressors on earth, withdraw your hand from the tyranny, for I have pledged myself not to forgive any man's injustice. This is my covenant which I have irrevocably decreed in the preserved tablet and sealed with my seal. Baha'u'llah, hidden words.
A religious student who retains what he has learned, who finds pleasure in the fulfillment of the law, who keeps the rules of studentship, who is upright and forgiving, attains perfection. The one who strikes others is not a hermit. One is not an ascetic who insults others. Not to blame, not to strike, to live restrained under the law, to be moderate in eating, to live alone, and to practice the highest consciousness. This is the teaching of the awkward ones. Let us live in joy, not hating those who hate us. Among those who hate us, we live free of hate. Let us live in joy, free from greed, among the greedy. Among those who are greedy, we live free of greed. Let us live in joy, though we possess nothing. Let us live feeding on joy like the bright gods. To the scripture.
If we say that we have no sin, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. Christianity. If thou, Lord, shouldest mark iniquities, O Lord, who shall stand? But there is forgiveness with thee, that thou mayest be feared. I wait for the Lord, my soul doth wait, and in his word do I hope. Judaism.
Allah beckons by His grace. Allah beckons by His grace to the garden of bliss and forgiveness, and makes His signs clear to mankind, that they may celebrate His praise. The believers are nothing else than brothers in Islam. So make reconciliation between your brothers and fear Allah, that you may receive mercy. O mankind, we created you from male and female and made you into nations and tribes, that ye may know each other, not that ye may despise each other. Verily, the most honored of you in the sight of Allah is he who is the most righteous of you. And Allah has full knowledge and is fully informed. Islamic scriptures.
God has crowned you with honor, and in your heart says He set a radiant star. Verily, the light thereof shall brighten the whole world.
Be generous in prosperity and thankful in adversity. Be worthy of the trust of thy neighbor, and look upon him with a bright and friendly face.
God has crowned you with honor, and in your heart says He set a radiant star. Verily, the light thereof shall brighten the whole world.
Be a treasure to the poor, an admonisher to the rich, an answer to the cry of the needy, a preserver of the sanctity of thy pledge.
God has crowned you with honor, and in your heart says He set a radiant star. Verily, the light thereof shall brighten the whole world.
Be fair in thy judgment and guarded in thy speech. Be unjust to no man, and to all meekness to all men.
God has crowned you with honor, and in your heart says He set a radiant star. Verily, the light thereof shall brighten the whole world.
I beg thee to forgive me, O my Lord, for every mention but the mention of thee, for every praise but the praise of thee, and for every delight but delight in thy nearness. I beg thee to forgive me, O my Lord, for every mention but the mention of thee, for every praise but the praise of thee, and for every delight but delight in thy nearness. And for every pleasure but the pleasure of communion with thee, and for every joy, and for every joy but the joy of thy love and of thy good pleasure. 'Cause things pertaining unto me, which bear no relationship unto thee. O thou who art the Lord of lords, he who provideth the means and unlocketh and unlocketh and unlocketh the doors. I beg thee to forgive me, O my Lord.
Thank you all. Welcome, Puya and Kumari, Mahendran, Hina. Today we are having what we call a scriptural reasoning. Many of you have participated in this, but some of you may not. So for the benefit of them, I will briefly say what scriptural reasoning is. As in the invitation that was sent, where's that? Yeah, this is the invitation that we sent out. It says practice scriptural reasoning. We asked you to bring your own code. It doesn't matter. It is not sold. The theme was actually forgiveness. This is based on the model given by Cambridge University, and it is available on this website. Basically, what we have to do is participants identify a narrative or theme, perhaps a concern or issue arising from their community or their context. Each faith community selects a short passage from their scripture relating to that theme. Participants meet in a small group, and one at a time, each passage of the scripture is read out loud to the rest of the group. Others may never have come across it before, so they be given an introduction explaining a little of its context in the scripture and its importance in the faith tradition. convened by a facilitator. Participants then discuss the passages one at a time. They may begin by asking questions to help them understand it better, or share a reflection or something that particularly strikes them as they hear it. In this way, an open and interactive discussion begins, and the participants are able to reflect together on the possible meaning of the text. So I hope we understand what the process is. Colin, as usual, gave quotation. I think I had to. This is one of the quotation that Colin gave. And he also gave another one that is in the from the Bible. What was it? Yes. Luke. So you can all see the screen, and maybe I will ask, because Colin, you could read and explain what you wanted to say about this first quotation.
So the first one is by Abdu'l-Baha. He says, and Abdu'l-Baha is in the Baha'i faith. Well, his father Baha'u'llah said that his son Abdu'l-Baha is the example of the perfect Baha'i life, and someone to follow. So if someone commits an error and wrong toward you, you must instantly forgive him. Do not complain of others. Refrain from reprimanding them. And if you wish to give admonition or advice, let it be offered in such a way that it will not burden the hearer. I think it should be. Burden the hearer. So the context, I think, would be some stories from the life of Abdu'l-Baha. In children's class, we learn about one story where there was someone who spoke against Abdu'l-Baha just about every day, but he was poor, so Abdu'l-Baha would leave food for him, pay for his medical expenses, etc. And that went on for, I think, 24 years. And then finally, the person who'd been so awful to Abdu'l-Baha came and asked for forgiveness. But Abdu'l-Baha, I just wonder if he must have had a particular view that he wasn't hurt. We could see it's like if you've got a child, a newborn child, you're not, and the child makes a mess or cries when you're trying to watch television, you forgive them instantly because you understand. And one other story from the life of Abdu'l-Baha is that in the introduction to a book which is called the Epistle to the Son of the Wolf, a book by Baha'u'llah summarizing the Baha'i teachings, but in the introduction, Mazia Gale tells the story of Zilus Sultan. Now, there was one person who issued a decree that two very spiritual and beautiful people should be killed, and Zilus Sultan endorsed that or signed off on it. And not just those two, but also hundreds, perhaps thousands of others were tortured and killed. A few years later, when Abdu'l-Baha was released from prison in Akka, and he was in Europe with his friends, with a few friends, he was at a hotel, and it just so happens that Zulu Sultan was also there. He'd been exiled from Iran, where his fortunes had changed. And he asked one of the Baha'is, who was that over there? And they said, it's Abdu'l-Baha. And he said, please let me see him. I want to beg for forgiveness. Anyway, he saw Abdu'l-Baha, and Abdu'l-Baha just put his arms around him and said, what's past is past. So it's a bit of context. Any thoughts people might have about this quote, I'll be interested to hear.
So please put your hand up if you want to say anything, so that how easy is it? I mean, because it says if someone commits an error and wrong toward you, you must instantly forgive. How easy is it to do it? Marina?
I don't think it's easy to instantly forgive, because we're all humans. And I would not be able to, from my point of view, I will not be able to instantly forgive unless I've sort of, become in the Catholic way as a nun or minister or someone. I would not be able to instantly forgive. I will just wait for a few days, and then only I might think well and forgive. But it's very hard to instantly forgive, because everyone is hurt that minute. And we might be expecting that they could come and say sorry, or a few days later, or maybe even 24 hours later, they could come and say sorry or something. So I mean, it's easy to say, if you just make a small mistake, it didn't hurt anyone, you can say, oh, sorry, I didn't mean that. But if it is deep down in your heart, if it is hurting, it's hard, and that is forgiveness. But I don't know at what age or when people do come to that stage to accept forgiveness. Or maybe, if you're in your 90s, you're okay to say forgiveness. But, it's a bit hard, much younger age, I feel. I don't know. I mean, others might have some different opinion when they feel that, whether 24 hours is even longer, I don't know.
Vasanta.
Do not complain of others. So that means we should not complain of others, or that is one of the questions I have. Other thing is, if you when you forgive somebody, or if they go and repeatedly do it, how do you forgive them? If they say, okay, I'm sorry, and just then you see, and then that things are, they repeatedly do things to hurt your feelings, how do you handle that?
Okay, questions. Colin.
We are not Abdu'l-Baha anymore. We are trying to become better, but sometimes it is very difficult, especially when it affects you deeply.
Yeah, it's very difficult, especially if you're saying you're hurting me and they don't care, or they're not listening, and they keep doing it, or if they laugh while they're doing it, all of that kind of thing. Yeah, very, very hard. It's interesting, Abdu'l-Baha says if someone commits a wrong towards you, in other words, it's a bit different from when they're hurting someone else. Then you might stand up for the rights of the other person. You might Well, that's what we should be doing. We should be trying to make the world a better place and establishing justice. So forgiveness doesn't mean we're letting them off the hook. They've still got to be educated, but education doesn't mean retribution.
But yeah, they should realize that what they have done is wrong. That I don't know how we can make them to realize that is difficult.
That's the problem. It might take a lifetime, and they might not even get it in a lifetime. It's sometimes all we can do is strengthen our own boundaries and let them know what our boundaries are. And if they're not going to respect them, then we're just going to have to, I don't know, separate ourselves physically or something. I don't know, something practical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with Colin on that point. If I have done if somebody has done something wrong and I couldn't forgive, I just decide, okay, I won't say anything that I won't help anymore, but I just, okay, this is my boundary and you have crossed that boundary. No more, I will not help you. That's all. I say it in one word and I say, I know how how you feel, but I have done more than that and I don't want to talk any further about it. But it is hard. Deep down, I feel that every day, even though I have said that to so many people, deep down, every time when I get sad and I say, why did I do this? And, forgive them. But it is hard for any human, I say. I mean, I realized that in my life at this stage.
Yeah, we shouldn't feel guilty for protecting ourselves, but sometimes we do.
Yes.
You can put your hands up if you want to say something. But what I think is this. Of course, Abdul Baha is a perfect exemplar. That means he lived the life as according to Baha'u'llah speaking in every aspect of his life. And if he says something, I wouldn't think that he says something that is not possible for human beings. So I believe it is possible, and this life is for us to refine and reform ourselves individually to attain that the limit of perfection, whatever it is, in all aspects. So I instant forgiveness is very, very hard, but in my personal life, I have seen people who have done something wrong to me, but I have forgiven them. But it is not instant. So I had to learn. I had to learn to forgive instantly, which is a challenge. And do not complain of others. I think the process. Usually we verbalize, we complain to them and sometimes to others. And I think if we go a little bit deeper, even if we don't say anything, but in our mind we still complain. I think we have to even refrain from complaining in our own mind, and that is, I think, in the regular reflection that we are asked to do every day. Bring thyself to account each day, ere thou art summoned to a reckoning, Baha'u'llah said. So if we reflect every day of the things that I have done and where I failed, and then to seek the forgiveness from God. I think the improvements will take place slowly. Yes, Zore, and then Marina. Pina,
Yeah.
Panja, Mahendran, you can always say something. Please raise your hand if you have something. Sorry.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I agree with all the, what Marina said and Colin and everybody, Basanta. But I feel that, as you said, if Abdul Baha knew that we can do that, that's why they ask us. And I think that is for our own benefit, because we don't want to, you don't want your mind to be always busy that what somebody did or said, because then we are left from what we have to do. If whatever is good for me to do, I have to concentrate on that rather than somebody says something. Because what normally people do is their behavior and what they learn in their childhood or when they were young or something, nothing to do with us. Even if they saying it to us, that is their problem rather than my problem. Of course, you can't, as you say, instantly forgive them. I mean, you can forgive and forget. And one of the things we learned before is to be grateful about what we have, that we are not like them. For example, if we think their behavior is not good, it's all about learning and challenges in life, that they say it's an art of living, that they say to make from a lemon. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that, yeah, some bitter things, or I love actually sour and lemon, but if you say bitterness, even that is good for you. Now you know that how bitters and sour and all that is good for you. Whatever people said is just a learning thing. Just learn from it and pass. Let it. I have to learn, and I'm learning every day. And yeah, as you said, to sit down. There are lots of type of like meditation. Then you sit down in front of yourself and talk to yourself. Actually, it's your soul. You're talking to your soul and explain and complain and say everything. And once it's finished, it's all done. That means you don't need somebody else, and it's not gossiping or anything. You're just talking. It's like you are mending yourself, your spirit. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Marina, and then Colin.
Yes, sir. But, I don't agree with the do not complain of others. There are times we might have to complain to someone. Like just if you, example with the small children, they cannot complain sometimes to the dad, but will come and complain to the mom or something like that, because if you go to the other person, third party complaint, that third party then will go and tell this person, Matt, what you did was wrong. She is hurt or he is hurt or whatever. So we should sort of complain at situations where we feel that it could be helping the other person who made the mistake. We could complain to the third party, or not third party in the sense like insurance or anything. I mean the like another friend or a family member whom we could complain about it, and that will help the person who made the mistake or wrong thing to realize it. So there are times we should complain to others, I think, that way. And also, I just don't really feel to myself, say, for example, you parked your car in the car park and someone scratched it just with a pen, like a scratch, to the small scratch on your car. And we didn't see that person. We just say, oh, God, that's done. That's it. And we walk away. But when we know a person who has done against you something, we are trying not to forgive. I don't know why. Maybe because we know them as a human, face to face, or name by name, or number by number. We are still angry, and forgiveness is not. But in the car park, someone doing that, we just say, all right, okay, that's all right. Somebody has touched my car and go, we don't even complain. We just forgive them on the spot, isn't it?
Hmm.
So it's a bit, it depends on the situation, I feel.
Yes, Colin.
Yeah, I've been just trying to run through some scenarios in my mind whether I'd have trouble forgiving. I could think of plenty. And it reminded me of the Abdullah family, which a drunk driver killed 3 of their children. And you've probably heard about them in Sydney. And they're forgiven the drunk driver who did it, which is quite an incredible thing to do. And I'm sure that it's partly because they had a spiritual perspective, some sort of wider perspective, but believing in God. And something which does help is the fact that God is all powerful. If you believe in God, He's all powerful and all loving, and therefore nothing in His creation could be ultimately bad. I mean, from our perspective, for a period of time, it's going to be very bad, but ultimately everything has to be good. And Baha'u'llah said that he created every atom in existence for my training, for my education. And when someone else reads that hidden words, God created every atom in existence for their training. So whatever happens is ultimately good, and not just for us, but even the children who are killed or whoever's hurt, God would be looking after them because God is all powerful and all loving.
Vasanta?
I lowered my hand, but so the thing is, when we are very, very close to someone and when we trust someone and then they hurt you or they do something, then we find it very difficult to forgive. Because you trusted and you trusted someone, and then that when there is a breach of trust, it is very difficult to forgive, but we have to. That is the thing is to how to do that is the problem. I agree with the quotation. That is what we are supposed to do. We have to try to do. But what I say is I find it difficult. But we are day by day improving.
Yes. And the second part of the quotation is says refrain from reprimanding them. And if you wish to give admonition or advice, let it be offered in such a way that it will not burden the hearer or the bearer. So, I mean, so according to this, I think you can admonish them, you can warn them, but give it in such a way it doesn't burden them. So it's again trial and error that we have to practice it. Panya, you have to unmute.
Sorry. Okay. I was just looking at the writings of Abdul Baha, where that he says forgiveness is also put it as a sin. The topic was forgiveness, and when I turned and referred to forgiveness, it says sin. And then I turned to the page and it says 140 in his writings, selections. When Jesus Christ was transfigured, he was crucified. which is stated in the Bible, this occurrence was perceived by the disciples with their inner eyes. Wherefore it was a secret hidden away and was a spiritual discovery of theirs. Otherwise, if the intent be that they witness physical forms, that is, witness the transfiguration with their outward eye, there were many others at hand on that plain and mountain. And why did they fail to behold it? What I understand is, when Christ was crucified, there were so many people, the disciples and the others witnessing it. None of them went to question or advise or give counsel that this is a cruel deed, why did you do it? Which is, they have a spiritual vision. They have this whole scene as from God, and this is what God wants him to be going through before the world realizes, until the cause of God should be exalted and the word of God prevail and the reality of Christ rising up, which they believe the soul of Christ rose up after how many days and all that. So that point is that we have to have this elevated or very special understanding. Things in our life happen, people throw words, especially when you're working for a great cause of God. There's persecution, people are killed, people are, so much torture they went through, but they never fought. They never fight or, they just give their lives. They give their lives. Sorry, there's some noise. They give their lives. And then he says in another passage, those who are, walking the straight path and they're challenged, insulted, or, abused, he says, especially to the women, convey thou unto the handmaids of the merciful the message that when a test turneth violent, they must stand unmoved and faithful to their love for Baha. In winter come the storms and the great winds blow, but then will follow spring in its all its beauty, adorning hill and plain with perfumed plants and red anemones, fair to see. So he describes that what will be the end of our sacrifice or the forbearing or the forgiveness. We will find the victory which we are looking or working for. So it's situational and also above the human level of forgiveness. This can be seen in a mother. In the human world, I see this in a mother. She could have children who are so wicked. They don't understand her suffering. They cause a lot of problems to her, but she will still love the child. She will still bring up and nurture the child, whatever happens to her. So the forgiveness, the quality of forgiveness in the mother is very divine, very spiritual, above the normal human feelings which we have. When somebody says one word and we are so sensitive, we suffer for days, we don't want to forgive them, and they don't want to face them. That's that level of human existence. That's what I feel. So there are two levels where if you are really spiritual and you obey the writings of Abdul Baha, of Baha'u'llah, you will forgive, pray for forgiveness. In fact, the one who commits the sin of the hurt, you will commit wrong towards you. You will pray for their forgiveness, which is very hard for a normal human being, I understand. But sometimes you can cry or, get your pain out and then pick up courage, go and say forgiveness prayer for that soul. That I sometimes I do that. Nowadays I'm different. I don't care what they say. I just try to, pray for forgiveness. Maybe they are in a situation where they don't understand what you are telling them, especially teaching the cause of God. Many people look at you, that they are crazy, that we are crazy, we are out of this world, our mind is not proper, something like that. But deep inside them, they do know this cause is a powerful cause and it's trying to unite the world. So what Abdul Baha says is really, really a level of spirituality where we have to elevate our, feelings and become special in the world, full of patience and love. And also the story of Abdul Baha, where a very sick man was lying outside the mosque, and every day Abdul Baha walks past, he will spit at him. You know, he spit at him. One day when he was too sick, too ill, what happened was someone told Abdul Baha, and he bought some food and went and visited him. And he cried of shame, you know, after he showed that kind of forgiveness and love. So we have to become very special, but it's a struggle, spiritual battle, and not many can do it. And I think that's the solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Pina, Kumari, Mahendran, do you have any? Yes. Now, I think there is, can't see the friends' faces. I think there is one place Baha'u'llah has said that God in his, all the creation, he has given one of the attributes or one of the qualities of God in all the creation. But in man alone, he chose to give all the attributes, that is God's good qualities, all those good qualities that God has, it is potentially in every soul. And my understanding is that this life that we are given here is to actually to bring out those qualities. So I think if we believe, first step is to believe that every one of us, we have these qualities hidden within ourselves. And we have the capacity to bring out. And with that, if we strive every day, little by little, we will come to that. Okay, if there is no other comments on the first quote, we can go to the next one. Again, that is given by Colin.
I thought Tanja did a good job of talking about the crucifixion.
Yeah.
But we're very, humanity is very blessed that there were witnesses who were able to write this down and record what Jesus said. And this was in the last week of his life, when he'd been tried, he'd been had 40 lashes, and he'd carried the cross and been ridiculed, and then finally nailed to the cross. Is everyone muted? So when they came to the place called the Skull, they crucified him there, along with the criminals, one on his right and the other on his left. Then Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing." So I think some things which really struck me about this. First of all, it's not Jesus forgiving them; he's asking God to forgive them. Even though Jesus, I would say, had the same insight that God had. Ultimately, it's the Father who forgives everybody. And the same with all of us. We can take a lesson from that, because none of us know what's inside another person. You know, when they're hurting us, we don't know their full history, what sort of childhood they had, what sort of day they had, etc. And then he says, he doesn't say forgive them because they're evil. He says forgive them because they're ignorant. They don't know what they're doing.
Yes, Pina.
There is a very old saying, which I learned from young, it says, to err is human, to forgive is divine. So if we keep that in mind, that it is normal for us to make mistakes or to do something wrong, but to forgive is divine. We have to forgive. But then I remember there is also better than forgiveness. I read from Bahia Khanum. She said we ought to show something greater than forgiveness in meeting the cruelties and strictures in our lives. To be hurt and forgive is saintly, but far beyond this is the power to comprehend and not be hurt. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So it says to be hurt and forgive is saintly, but far beyond this is the power to comprehend and not to be hurt. This is profound. So if someone hurt me and I don't get hurt, then I have nothing to forgive, right?
That's very interesting.
It's in a higher level, isn't it?
Yes.
We have to shield ourselves. Like there was a story about if somebody give you a gift, for example, and if you do not receive it, where that gift goes back to the owner, right? So if somebody say something bad words to me, and if I don't receive it, I pretend I didn't listen to it, I don't hear it, I'm not affected, and it goes back to the one who said it.
I think that's what Buddha was trying to explain his disciples.
That's right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was very good explanation. So not to be hurt is another higher level. Then you don't have to forgive. There is nothing to forgive because you are not hurt. Okay. Anyone else? Yeah.
Sorry, has a hand up.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see. I minimized the screen. Sorry, are you there?
Yeah, it was just, I thought we have a choice. I think it's all everybody says, but we have a choice to be heard or not to be heard. And it's a practice. We just practice not to be heard because we don't know exactly, we don't know the other person. That's why it's not because I did something. Sometimes I think that's their problem. That's what they say. I like the one we say we have a choice to be heard or not to be heard. Thank you.
Colin.
You have to unmute, Colin.
Thank you. Yeah, what Pina and Zore were just telling me, were just saying, just made me think of this, that pain stops being pain if it has a purpose. So, like getting out of bed, if you haven't got a purpose, it's a bit hard to get out of bed. But if you've got something you want to do, you jump out of bed. And it's the same. If you're running up a hill, you say, why on earth am I doing this? But if you've got the Olympics next week and you're second in the world and very close to the first in the world, then you're going to really enjoy running up that hill because you know you might win the race next week. And then Viktor Frankl, as a psychologist who was in concentration camp, and he wrote a book, Man's Search for Meaning, and he said that suffering ceases to be suffering in some way the moment it finds a meaning. So maybe there's a choice to feel the pain or not, but I think if it's if you have a meaning in life and you can see a purpose in suffering, then everything else will follow from that.
If I may say something, it's just a small thought which I thought about. There's a relative of mine who used to say, one day he told me, you must learn to develop a thick skin. So I was thinking about it. My goodness, how to develop a thick skin? Because we are generally sensitive. So what he means is, he knows I am sensitive. I am very fragile and I am very emotional. So he told me, we have to, he didn't say you, he said, we have to develop a thick skin. Now, looking at this forgiveness, I understand the meaning of what he said. Of course, you have to have a thick skin. Do not consider like what Buddha says, don't, receive it. Just give back to the owner. I mean, it goes back to the owner, the person who says it, as Pina told. So it's all that we, by nature, nurturing at home, or parents teach you self-dignity, pride, and, being sensitive to things, taking care of yourself. As a girl, you must do this, that, and, you cannot attract, like things to attract the boys. So many things, like Indian families, they're very particular, conservative. But now as I grow, as I mature, I learn lots of understanding that it's all in the way you are brought up, in the nurturing, in the understanding, and in the action, whatever action we are doing, and the moral purpose. As Siva said, we have to bring out the divine attributes. So we have a lot of attributes which we haven't practiced. So developing a thick skin is one of it, I understand, in a very simple and manner which he told me. Now I understand the meaning. So in that way, we don't consider whatever people say as serious. Oh, maybe, they don't like it and they say something. We don't absorb it. As Pina was telling, that we take it as, oh, he's a personality who doesn't understand what I said. Maybe they say that. So in that way, we are developing a thick skin, and we are not touched or hurt by the words and actions of those who don't understand God's purpose or our intention to do good. So this is an everyday thing which we will have to learn. And it's good that we discuss it in our group. So if everybody is like that, then this psychological, effect will help them, children even. There's a case which I just thought about it as I'm talking. Was a boy who was very big, fat, chubby boy. And he used to go for a tuition to a teacher's house. And there another girl comes to the same place for tuition, a young girl. They are teenagers, about 15, 16. And this girl used to call him Fatty, just call him Fatty. It's just the children's play. Yeah? And this boy was very angry, hurt. And for days, he has been waiting and waiting and waiting. One day, he took a scissors and stabbed her to death. And the girl died. And then it's such a sad story. Just that the boy is so conscious that he's fat. And he couldn't take the word from the girl who was teasing him. And he did that. And then they had the juvenile sitting and all that, and reports and all. He's from a decent family. And finally, I think the boy was sent to a home for the juvenile, where they make them, go through a lot of transformation and all. It's separation from the family, isolation, which is very, very sad. And I used to think these children, young ones, should be forgiven. But I don't know what drive him to kill the girl, because he's called Fatty. Just that feeling of hurt and pride. So how do we, people will try to give them a psychological or psychiatric treatment, or mental health and all that, but he's a normal boy. He's a very brilliant boy. And this is one of those things which we have to understand, what is necessary, when it is necessary. Teach the children not to hurt each other or harm each other. Use words to describe and cause pain to the others. Thank you.
Thank you. Tina?
Sorry, this is very short because dear Panja is talking about becoming thick-skinned. I said the same thing to a friend. Sometimes you need to be thick-skinned so as not to receive this, not to be hurt. You know what she said? Not only a thick skin, I must have not only thick but rubber skin, so that when somebody threw something on me, it bounced back to the person harder. Rubber skin, thick rubber skin. I should have, she said. So I was laughing.
Yeah.
And the story you told is really sad, because even if somebody is fat and someone is teasing or maybe even like a bully, you don't know the condition of these children. Sometimes they have psychological problems and they are sensitive, and things can become worse because they already have kind of a problem.
Yeah.
So it's really sad. It's really sad. Everyone should be taught to be kind, to be loving, not to bully.
Also, the parents should take some trouble to reduce the obesity in the children. You see, like hormonal obesity is a hormonal problem. Families, sometimes they can't help it. Yeah, this is very common today. So a lot of pain and effort is needed, and spiritual deepening is needed for children and youths and adults as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lori?
I think the other side of looking at this is to accept. If somebody says something to us, we accept it and we say, thank you. I didn't know I'm that bad or this way. And it just puts some water on the fire or whatever they feel. Once you disagree or you are against their idea, I think it makes more fire. But if you say, yes, thank you, I didn't know, or something, like take it very easy. I think it heals. It's very healing. Accepting is always healing, and rejecting is always negative. That's why that will bring another dimension to when you hear something, you say, thank you. I didn't know it's that way. Or make it simple. Yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone. I think the way we talk about inherent oneness of humanity, I try to think, what's the meaning of this one? What is it in a sense, or in deeper sense? What is this inherent oneness of humanity? Now, to me, in the hidden words of Baha'u'llah, that he said that he has placed the essence of God's light. God has placed essence of his light in every soul or every person. So what is within me and the one who is offending or hurting, in what is within that person is also the essence of God's light. Now, to see that everyone has the essence of God's light, to me, that is what the inherent oneness of humanity. It's my way of looking at it. So, in other words, if I have a mirror in front of me, I see myself in the mirror, right? Now, if we have our inner eye, if our inner eye is open, and if I look inside another person, not the outside, but the inside, what I should see is myself. So if I see myself in the other person, then I wouldn't hurt, I wouldn't offend, I wouldn't curse. So we have to we are seeing everyone as individuals and a different person, and they are doing this, he is doing this. But to see the inherent oneness, we had to look further deeper inside ourselves and others, and also in the creation. In one of the prayers, Baha'u'llah says, I just remember that one sentence. He says, "Raise them up, O my Lord, to such heights that they will recognize in all things the tokens of the power of Him, who is the manifestation of the most august and all glorious self." So we are asking God to raise us to such level that we can see in everything, not only in human beings, in everything, the power of Him who is the manifestation of the most august and all glorious self. So God's power, which is actually manifested in these manifestations of God, whether it is Jesus or Moses or Muhammad or Krishna, to see that power in everything. So that we should be able to see that in every person. And when we see that, we wouldn't like to offend, because say or do anything painful. But it is not how do we get to that understanding? This is the daily prayers and meditation will help. Anyway, now it is 8:45 here, Vasanta, and if there are anyone else, please raise your hands up. Otherwise, we can conclude this wonderful meeting.
It's a bit, I was just thinking, and I was going back to the quotation, the first quotation of Abdul Baha. He says, do not complain. So my question is, so if I go and if I complain to somebody, or if someone comes and complain to us, it's like backbiting. Can we tell them, no, don't complain to us? So how do we, what we should do? If someone come and complain, this one is so-and-so is doing this to me. So what should our reaction be?
I think we should, this is my opinion, we should be able to distinguish whether it is backbiting or not. If I am coming to you because I was hurt by someone else's action, and I'm in pain and I'm in sorrow, I'm in tears, then I don't think that you should take it as a backbiting, though it could be considered as backbiting, because I am seeking consolation, I'm seeking some relief, and that's why I came to you. But if the other person is not in sorrow, but maybe in anger, but comes and tells all sort of these things, then I think we have to tactfully avoid it. But the complaining, I think Marina also mentioned earlier, the complaining is to the authority. Complaining to the authorities is, we should be able to do it. We should do it. So for a child at the school, teacher is the authority to complain to the teacher. It's okay. If the child comes home and comes to the parents and say complain, and that is okay because that is the authority that they can deal with. And if my neighbor is doing something wrong to me, I complain to the council or the police. That is perfectly all right. But if I complain to my other neighbor that this neighbor is this, that is not. So there is a
If the one neighbor is coming and telling me the other neighbor is doing this, then I have how I will be able to stop him from listening to that.
This is what we study in book 1. I don't know, Marina and any listeners online know about the Ruhi Institute process. We have a sequence of courses where we study, and there is specific questions as exercises, whether how will you deal with this, or what will you do if someone comes and says something like this. And if we try this, we can kindly tell them that it is not good to talk bad about others in their absence, or indirectly divert whatever it is. But we have to be conscious, because when someone is complaining to me, when I listen, there are three, and they say there are 3 people affected by it. I am complicit, you are complicit, and the poor person about whom we are talking is also getting a bad name. So it's not we are free from anything if we just say, oh, he only came and told me, I didn't do anything. So no, we had to avoid it. We can directly tell them that it's, I can say, if it is a Baha'i, I can say that, Baha'u'llah say that you are not allowed to talk like. But if the other person is not a Baha'i, still I can say I follow Baha'i faith, and Baha'u'llah says that backbiting is prohibited by God, and it is a sin. So I wouldn't like to do that. I can say that so it depends on the relationship that you have with the other person. Anyway, if there is any comments, Marina, Panya, Surey, Pina, and those.
Oh, okay, Colin.
Yes.
You are muted, Colin.
I was just going to read the quote which you put up before, Zoray, but I might leave it to you.
Yeah. They say if it's you don't want to be backbiting, you shouldn't say the name of the person. But if you say next door neighbor, then they know who you are talking about. But the best person, as there is a very nice site, I don't know whether it's in English, Inner Peace Norway, and the doctor, he's a psychologist. He's beautifully, he talks how to release your mind from backbiting and all that actually the person you should talk is yourself, your soul. That's why you do meditation. You just sit and your soul sit in front of you, and you talk and explain everything and say, this person said that person. You don't judge, you just talk. And then you have deep breathing, and you do some other actions, and your mind become free, because this is just eating your brain and eating your mind. Instead of you do it in a good way, your time and your mind and whatever you have to do, you're just thinking about somebody says something. And the way he explains it is so beautiful. This doctor is really, it's a gem, I think. And he tells it through the 7 valleys and all the 4 valleys. And he say how to make yourself free of these things of life. What do they call it? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Deepa, can I
Yeah.
just add something? I think forgiveness is connected to a number of things like wrath, mercy, the other two were punishment and reward, and all these things are linked together. And I'll send that prayer from Baha'u'llah where it mentions all these different things that are linked together. And there is a balance between all those that sets the level of forgiveness.
Thank you.
Anyway, by God.
Yes. If you have it handy, we can close our meeting with that prayer. But before that, we can ask Panja to give a last comment.
I think I have it in. It was in. I sent it to the WhatsApp link. Interfaith.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
But
if you want, I can.
Yeah. We'll wait for Panja to finish her comment. Unmute, Panja. Let unmute.
A few things which happened recently, I recall it, how I try to handle it. Like I knew of a Baha'i youth going through some personal problem and he doesn't want anybody to go and help him. He's a youth and then he's having health problem, all by himself, frustrated. So I came to know somebody, my community, and the few ladies who were concerned shared with me. So I was thinking, what can we do? He has a father, and I don't know how he rejected any offer of help completely. I think he's going through depression or suffering. And when I heard this, I'm a mother, so I couldn't bear to hear. Then I said, what is the best thing, because he's a believer, Baha'i believer. And we have got institutions to help, like Baha'is can bring it to the local assembly. If anything concerning the community around, we have this body to assist us, council, they will get together and have meeting, consult and decide. So I said, maybe I have to pick up courage to bring it to the assembly. So I went for some reflection meeting. I met the chairman there. I took the opportunity to say that, I just like to bring to the attention of the assembly. I told the chairman. And he said, okay. Then I said, my concern is, it's nothing personal, but if anything should go wrong, it affects the community. So I wish that we can do something to help him out. Okay, that's it one. Then a few other incidents which also tempt you, like a mother who is suspected of some growth in her breast. So she was saying, oh, this will cost me a lot to go for surgery, and I just ignore it. I'm already old. It doesn't matter to me anymore. I think I will just suffer and die. Then I said, oh my God, no, you have a lot of things to be done today. The medical world is personal counseling. And I said, please talk to your children, talk to your family, and there will be a solution. And then she was a bit, reluctant. She said, I don't want to trouble anybody. This is the women's emotions and all. I don't want to cause any problem to my children, my husband and all that. And I don't know what to do. And I'm not a counselor, but I told her, perhaps you can take it as a very light problem. You can go for the treatment. If you want, I can speak to your son to help assist you. And all of you come together and do the treatment. And then you have a great time. You will come to me. We will go teaching. We will go visiting, or we can watch some forums. So she laughed. She started laughing. And I felt that helped her to overcome her fear and worry. So I said, sometimes she is anxious because she doesn't want, because sometimes children will condemn the parents when they are neggy and they say, I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick. Some children get impatient. So this kind of things, we must use our tact and wisdom and try to console the soul and bring joy to them. And they will forgive their children and all, and then work for the betterment of the family. So these are small examples. Maybe I'm diverting from the main issue. Thank you. Sorry. That's it.
And the quotation that Colin mentioned, that Zore put it in the book, it says, can you see the screen? Be like the flower that gives fragrance to evil and that crushes it.
That's right.
Okay. Ahmad, do you want to close this meeting with your prayer?
No, may anyone have to say anything? Anyone want to say anything about that quotation? I think Zora sent it to be discussed at the.
Oh, it's all right because it's already 9 o'clock.
Yes.
It's just extremely forgiving, I think. That's what it says. You have to be like flowers. I think we learn from nature. Nature, I think, is very forgiving. You know, the sun always shines. The wind has to come, it comes. We have to learn. I think that's what they say. If you want to be happy, you try to be like nature. Giving, it's just giving, not expecting.
So we can finish with
Ahmad's
prayer. Are you going to read it for us?
Yeah, sure. God, my God, thy grace had emboldened me, and thy justice filled with terror. Happy is that man whom thou hast endued with thy grace, and woe to him that receiveth thus. Lord, I have fled from thy justice, and have sought thy grace, have turned from thy wrath, and implored thy pardon. I beseech thee by thy power, thy sovereignty, thy glory, and thy favor, to illumine mankind with the light of thy knowledge, that all things may show thy handiwork, may unfold the mysteries of thy power, and may reveal the light of thy knowledge. Thou art the one that hath caused all things to be made manifest, and hath shone upon them with the light of thy care and thy providence. Baha'u'llah.
Thank you. So that's the prayer that goes in the WhatsApp group. Thank you very much. Thank you, Colin, for your quotations, and thank you, everyone. Marina, Zore, Panda, Pina, Ahmad, Basanda.
Thank you. Thank you. Rumbanandri.
Thank you, Marina.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kumari.
Mahendra.
Forget